Star Trek Into Darkness, released in 2013, generated significant anticipation among fans and the general audience alike. Following the box office and critical success of the 2009 reboot directed by JJ Abrams, expectations were high for the sequel. The first film had not only introduced the classic Star Trek characters to a new generation, but had also revitalized interest in the franchise, making the prospect of a follow-up particularly exciting. The return of the main cast, including Chris Pine as Captain Kirk and Zachary Quinto as Spock, played a significant role in building the anticipation. The chemistry and performances of the ensemble cast in the first film had been well received, and audiences were eager to see them in the sequel. One factor contributing to the anticipation was the mystery surrounding the film's plot. Speculation ran rampant that the film's antagonist would be Khan Noonien Singh, best known for the fan and critic favourite Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. This was vociferously denied, but few were surprised when nominal villain John Harrison, played by Benedict Cumberbatch, was revealed to be Khan. The film received many good reviews, but mixed audience responses. For every excellent choice, there was an inexplicable one. The resulting film was, by turns, smart and stupid. I'm Sean Ferry for TrekCulture, and here are the 10 dumbest things in Star Trek Into Darkness. Number 10. Kirk's Prime Directive violation. The film's opening is fun and plays like an OTT spoof of an original series running and jumping action sequence. It puts a spotlight on 5 of the 7 leads, is dynamic and exciting, but it's as smart as a bag of bricks. And that's not referring to the starship playing Yellow Submarine. We'll get to that. First, why are they doing this in broad daylight? Did they happen to find the volcano and the threatened natives just before the imminent cataclysm? Or does this planet have really long days that prevents waiting till night to pull this stunt, when the ship would be perhaps less visible? Or maybe the natives' night vision is that good? Second, what was Kirk leading the natives on a merry chase supposed to accomplish? Was he deliberately luring them as far away as possible from the volcano because he saw the script called for their temple whatever to be obliterated by raining magma before Spock could drop his super ice cube? Must be, because otherwise keeping the locals indoors would better prevent them from seeing the shuttle or potentially the Enterprise. Finally, how did Kirk not know about the riding animal Bones had rounded up? Wasn't that part of the plan? Or was Bones showing some initiative and Kirk boofed it? And speaking of the ship's doctor, what's he doing there? Granted, on the OG he was often on landing parties for no good reason, but is the chief surgeon the best man to help lure an angry mob to a cliff? Number 9. War. What is it good for? Admiral Marcus's plan is a mess. On one hand, he says all-out war with the Klingons is inevitable, and so he dreams of a militarized Starfleet with which to preemptively start and end the conflict. But how exactly? Okay, sure, he had Khan develop the new long-range and supposedly untraceable photon torpedoes, and he's got the big bad starship Vengeance, a stupid name, who's he getting vengeance on? But think about it, as super duper powerful as that one Black Ops Black Starship is, it's one ship. It can't be everywhere at once. Despite its barely glimpsed remote weapons pods, and wars are rarely fought on a single front. Why start the war now instead of waiting until he can build more Vengeances? Was he so dependent on Khan that the loss of him ruined his long game? Or does he worry that Khan will reveal his plans? The film comments on the United States' response to the 9/11 attacks and how easy it is to respond to terrorism in ways that lead into darkness, where ethics become an inconvenience, but sadly, the script only pays lip service to these themes without really delving into them, or even taking the time to think through the logical implications. That's the sort of stupid that undermines story logic and blunts the story's allegorical aims. Number 8. The 72 popsicles. Khan says the new torpedoes are of his design, so it makes sense he'd engineer them with alternative purposes in mind, but stuffing his 72 frozen compatriots into them to smuggle them where? Since Admiral Marcus is using these popsicled peeps to compel Khan to do his bidding, why is he stupid enough to allow the genetic Superman the sort of access that would let him stuff torpedoes with cryotubes? Minus hands-on access, Khan would have to trick or force someone to load the torps for him, but there's no evidence of that. He may be a wily coyote super genius and hack a computer to trick those with access to his people into shipping them somewhere, but wouldn't anyone question loading cryotubes into torpedo components? Or is this all being done by robots like some 23rd century Amazon fulfillment warehouse? The movie could have made a satirical barb about black projects and black boxes and need to know that Khan exploited, but the script isn't anywhere near that smart. Even sillier, Carol Marcus says the fuel containers were removed from the torpedo and retrofitted to hide the cryotubes. This suggests there's little to no fuel in the containers. So just how did her daddy Marcus expect the torpedoes to get from the edge of the neutral zone to their target? Nonsense. All of it. Number 7. The Troublesome Tribble. Khan's fan-dubbed Magic Blood actually isn't any more dumb than the other medical nonsense thrown around in Trek and conveniently forgotten. Omicron CT spores? Kyranoid fuel telekinesis? The issue with the blood is the rather unscientific way Bones McCoy tests it. The trouble's dead. I'm injecting Khan's platelets into the deceased tissue of a necrotic host. Khan's cells regenerate like nothing I've ever seen, and I want to know why. I want to know why he thinks he'll learn anything by injecting them into a who-knows-how-long dead corpse with no active circulatory system. Platelets aid in healing by forming blood clots to stop bleeding, releasing growth factors that promote tissue repair, and participating in the inflammatory response at the site of injury. But they don't have a direct effect on dead tissue. The only way this works is if the Tribble is freshly dead, and Bones uses some contraptions to artificially keep it alive until the power platelets work their magic. Some have questioned why Bones needs Khan to save Kirk when he has the other 72 Popsicle Super Friends at hand, but at least the script sets that up when Bones explains that trying to revive one without the proper sequencing could kill them because the cryotube tech is so ancient that it's beyond him. But that's undermined by this. Get me a cryotube now! Whose? One of the guys you daren't thaw? Number 6. Dumb silent, dumb deep. When we first saw the colossal Kelvin timeline Enterprise rising from the sea, it brought to mind Kirk's reaction to the refit ship from Gene Roddenberry's novelization of Star Trek, the motion picture. Kirk searched for some phrase, some description that expressed what he was feeling. Was she like a lovely woman? No. At this moment, she was more than that to him. A fable? A myth come alive? Yes, that was it. She was as Aphrodite must have been when Zeus first raised her up from the sea, naked and shockingly beautiful. Starship porn indeed. Clumsy Rodden writing aside, it makes no sense for the Enterprise to park underwater. How long has it been down there? Did the shuttle launch from under the sea like the Seaview's FS-1 flying sub? Hey, if starships are submersible, then the next TV series could be Voyager to the bottom of the sea. If the ship needed to be nearby but unseen,
why didn't they just phaser the side of the volcano and blow a lot of dust into the air to obscure the ship?
A dozen reasons could have been invented to rationalise the starship playing Red October, like it could have been using phasers at point-blank range to drill holes into the volcano's undersea route to vent lava into the sea to relieve pressure, buying time for Spock to forge his solution. But no. As happens too often in these films, the Enterprise is underwater just because it looks cool. Number 5. Stone Cold Fusion. Since Star Trek's science has routinely been magic in a technobabble wrapper, Spock having a gizmo to instantly transmogrify molten lava into volcanic basalt and scoria is on brand. Though, since cold is the absence of heat, one wonders where all that heat energy was sent. Maybe to Uhura's anger at Spock? As with the prior film's red matter, what's stupid is the name. Cold fusion refers to a hypothetical process whereby atoms fuse at room temperature and release energy. For 35 years, every claim for such a thing has been irreproducible, and the term itself is synonymous with junk science. To be charitable, maybe that's the point. After all, the planet in the opening sequence bears the moniker of the pseudo-science and conspiracy theory postulated planet Nibiru. Is the film hanging lanterns on the fact that Trek's science is junk science? Funny if intentional, but if that's the case, the movie doesn't let us in on the joke. Or perhaps the writers merely thought, hey, lava's hot and cold is the opposite, so if they fuse it solid, cold fusion. I'm going to pretend it was the former. Number 4. Location. Like its predecessor, the script for Into Darkness has no sense of spatial geography, and its depiction of warp travel makes the universe seem very small indeed. Kirk's orders were to park on the edge of the neutral zone and fire the 72 stealthy long-range torpedoes at the Klingon homeworld, Kronos, to kill Khan. But the Marcus-ordered sabotage knocked the Enterprise out of warp 20 minutes short of their destination, so the ship shouldn't even be at the edge of the neutral zone yet. If that's the case, then why does Sulu say it's 20 minutes in enemy space we weren't counting on? And then why does Khan say the ship is stranded on the edge of Klingon space, then refer to them being in Klingon space? Which is it? When the warp core finally gets repaired and Kirk orders the Enterprise to hot-foot it back to Earth, only minutes appear to pass before the Vengeance overtakes them and blows them out of warp within Mark 1 eyeball range of Earth. That would make Kronos farther from the Enterprise's stranded position than Earth was. How does that make any sense? And speaking of Kronos, number 3. Take it to the roach limit. In the 10 Dumbest Things in Star Trek 2009, we groused about how lots of TV and film science fiction portrays planets in preposterously close quarters. Into Darkness takes the cake in this regard, as it portrays the Klingon planet Kronos effectively kissing a shattered moon. Maybe praxis, maybe not. Planets can only remain spheres or spheroids if they are far enough apart that the tidal forces of their gravitational interactions don't tear them both apart, or the gravity of the more massive doesn't shred the lesser. That distance is called the Roche limit. Outside it, intact body. Inside it, rubble or rings. For that Klingon moon to not moonfall right down its orbital velocity would have to be crazy fast, and the chunks trailing off behind it would possess lower orbital velocities than those skimming the atmosphere. They'd never line up as seen in the film. Unless that moon was hurled directly into that atmosphere-grazing orbit, the tidal forces from Kronos would have long ago reduced it to short-lived rings as it gradually moved closer and closer. The effect wouldn't be limited to the moon. Kronos itself would be distorted by the intense tidal forces and end up as molten as the inside of that supervolcano on Nibiru. Even 1 million of Spock's dumb super ice cube fusion gizmos couldn't fix that. Number 2. Starfleet? What Starfleet? When the Vengeance first knocks the Enterprise out of warp, Suda reports the ship is 237,000 kilometers from Earth, which would put the ship 38% closer to our planet than our moon is. Yet we see the moon in the background and the Earth farther beyond this, a view that would happen if the range were in miles and not kilometers. Metric versus imperial confusion reigns. Ignoring the visual incongruity, the big question is, where the photon is everyone? And by everyone, I mean Starfleet. The two ships are right at Earth's doorstep, and the big bad is pounding the snot out of the hero ship. Does Starfleet not even notice? Even assuming the Vengeance is a super stealth ship, can it extend that stealth in a manner that prevents Starfleet scanners from detecting the Enterprise as well? The battle debris, the energy signatures of the weapons being fired, the comms exchange between the ships. And even granting all this, what about when the 72 torpedoes go boom in the Vengeance's guts? Is it still magically invisible then? Mind you, Uhura gets a video call through to Spock Prime on New Vulcan, wherever that is, but is apparently unable to call Starfleet headquarters right next door and ask for help? Seriously, are there 0 Federation starships around Earth? Is the fleet still in the Laurentian system as in the last movie? Does the space station or dock orbiting above San Francisco, from which the Enterprise was deployed, have no tractor beams? Or are Starfleet's space cadets too busily engaged in the timeless act of naval contemplation to notice? Does anything get dumber than this? Well, number 1, that Khan Noonien Singh thing. You probably saw this coming, but the inclusion of Khan is the movie's dumbest element. Not the casting of Benedict Cumberbatch in the role. Khan's ethnicity has always been problematic, beginning with the sad Hollywood tradition of casting anyone perceived as ethnic to play practically any role that isn't lily white. Ricardo Montalban's parents were from Spain, and just as European as Cumberbatch, neither actor looked the part of a Punjabi Sikh. Nor is it the pointless misdirection of John Harrison to try and maintain a surprise that wasn't any such thing. A true John Harrison character who'd turned against the military excesses of Starfleet would relate to the story themes. But Khan is wholly incidental to the tale being told. The real villain of the piece is Marcus. The end justifies the means philosophy he espouses, and the immoral lengths such thinking leads to. But Marcus is narratively airlocked at the end of the second act in favour of the incidental Khan and his OTT theatrics. The writers were so goddamn determined to shoehorn Star Trek's supposedly greatest villain, who I find a little bit overrated, Team Ducat, into this film, that they undermined the script to do so, made all the worse by the fan-wanky and obvious inversion of the sacrifice ending of the Wrath of Khan. Khan's always been a little bit overrated, and his pointless inclusion in this film renders what could have been a truly compelling story down to a Star Trek into dumbness. Thank you so much for watching along, folks. I hope you enjoyed this, and if you enjoyed it, check out the original article written by Morris over on whatculture.com. You can follow us on the various social medias at TrekCulture. You can follow myself at Sean Ferrick as well. You are awesome. You are wonderful. Please hit that subscribe button. I'll be your friend. Make sure you live long and prosper. Thanks very much.